All In Sports Network. We love sports.
Welcome back to the show. Today's episode of the show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We've got a little rebrand to announce. I've been told, and we're now going by 365 Mizzou. Good God. Just dropped something. 365 Mizzou rather than All In Mizzou. So from now on, you can refer to me as 365 Mizzou. Also, looks like I'm going to be creating some social media pages for 365 Mizzou. Lots of good stuff going on at Rogue Media. So I'll be making those soon, so be on the lookout for those. But today, we're talking Missouri's offense. The offensive performance output in the Tigers' 49-27 win over Mississippi State last Saturday night. Actually, before I get into that, there's some just general college football news and, exciting stuff going on, especially down there in Oxford, Mississippi. So we all know this coaching carousel is going to be crazy. You have LSU open, you have Florida open, you have Penn State open, and looks like Virginia Tech hired James Franklin. I think that's a great hire for them. But, man, things down there in Oxford, despite being a one-loss team, despite being a lock for the playoffs, the talk is anything but the football team. It's about their head coach, Lane Kiffin, who has turned that program around, has it in a really great spot, and now is being courted by both LSU and Florida for their openings. And apparently, Lane Kiffin, his family was flown to Baton Rouge yesterday to tour the city or whatever. I think his family went to Gainesville, Florida on Sunday. So that happened. He won't really answer whether or not he's staying or leaving. It seems like the panic level for Ole Miss fans online, on Twitter, on the message boards has increased tenfold. So there are people saying that it's not looking good that he'll stay. And apparently Ole Miss feels the same way because they gave Lane Kiffin an ultimatum. So they're saying you can either decide to coach here or you can go, and you cannot coach us in the playoffs. And that ultimatum is before the Egg Bowl. So Ole Miss is on a bye this week, I believe. They're 10-1, so yeah, they're on a bye. And then they play Mississippi State, a rivalry game, next week. And so he has to decide whether he wants to stay or leave by then. And gosh, this is a crazy situation. An ultimatum is I feel like a risky move, if you want to keep this guy. But at the same time, if you're going to get it, if you're going to go, you go. I get that if you're Ole Miss. The crazy thing is, though, that this is a playoff team. This team is going to the playoff. Lane Kiffin has been working towards this moment, a playoff team. It would be pretty crazy for him to basically resign or leave the team and have someone else coach his playoff team. It's a tough spot to be. Do you want to stay and see through what you've built, or do you want to go to a big name, a blue blood name that he has been on record saying he's always dreamed of coaching one of the blue blood schools, which he coached Tennessee and USC. So he's kind of done that. But to me, I don't know if the ceiling at Ole Miss is that much lower than that at LSU or Florida. But apparently LSU made him an offer that exceeds what Kirby Smart is making at Georgia, which would make Kiffin the highest paid coach in the country. It's interesting. It seems like there is a lot of smoke. First, last week there was a ton of Florida Lane Kiffin smoke. It seems like now it's a lot of LSU Lane Kiffin smoke. And we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen, obviously, but it'll be pretty interesting to follow. I mean, this is going to be resolved. This has to be resolved sometime in the next week and a half. So there is going to be a resolution at some point. Speaking of head coaching stuff, Drinkwitz just finished up his weekly Tuesday presser and talked a little bit about the rumors surrounding him. His name is also in a bunch of message board jobber rumors, right? I didn't mention Auburn also has a head coach opening. That's apparently a place that is interested in Drinkwitz. Penn State, he's been heavily linked to Penn State. He talked about how his family loves it here. They're building something special, and his focus right now is on the team. And I think that's very much coach speak. But he said, we absolutely love Mizzou. 6 straight bowl games. He talked about all this stuff, how the athletic department has been incredible for him. The great President Munchoy has been good for him. He also mentioned, that the NIL situation at Missouri, he said there is a misconception. It is very good, but it's not at the very top. He said some places have unlimited NIL, and we want to beat those teams. So, on the broadcast on Saturday, you heard the broadcast crew talk about in their meetings how Drinkwitz talked about how 0 of the Fortune 500 companies based in Missouri have any affiliation with the team. And that's something he would like to see change. So he's putting it all out there. He's putting out, to me, it seems like he's saying, I want to stay, but if you want me to stay, we've got to get more. If you want me to compete for a championship, I have to have more. And I think that's fair. It seems to me, my read on this is obviously the rumors are that he's, most of the national media believes he's probably going to Penn State. I think a lot of the Missouri people believe maybe he'd stay. I think that my read on it, someone who's not that connected anymore to the program, doesn't cover him every day like I got to last year, but I would say he wants to be at Missouri, but more so than that, he wants to win. And so he's telling Missouri, this is what you can do to give me a chance to win. And if you do that, I love it here and I'll stay. But if you can't do that, I'm going to go to Penn State, who does have unlimited resources. Or I'm going to go to Auburn, who, that athletic department, I don't know how much financially, I don't know how much more it has than Missouri, but it's a bigger name. I don't know if Auburn seems like it would be kind of a lateral move at this point, but Penn State is a job, and Florida, if it happens, is another job. So we'll see. And, if Lane takes one of those 2 jobs, then Ole Miss is open, and that's another opening you got to deal with. There's also rumors of Steve Sarkisian for Texas, taking an NFL job, and then there'd be another job opening, and I'm not sure. I'm not saying Drinkwitz would be involved in that, but I'm saying this carousel is crazy. And if Missouri can come out of it with its head coach, still involved and committed to the team, I think it would be a huge, huge win. But also, if he leaves, I think, there are going to be candidates who want to come coach at Missouri. It's a program that is seemingly on the rise. And I think he'll stay is what I'm predicting. And just purely based on a guess, I just feel like, Missouri is going to want to do everything it can to get this guy to stay. So we'll see. I think, we'll see. Probably in about 2 weeks when they finish up against Arkansas. I think after that, we could start hearing some stuff. But Missouri obviously has not given Drinkwitz an ultimatum like Ole Miss has, because Drinkwitz isn't having his family flown out to what is it? What's city is Penn State in? State. Hold on. University Park. That's right. He's not flying his family out to University Park or Gainesville, or Auburn. So there's no ultimatum in place for Missouri as far as I know. But today he did mention he loved Missouri, and I think that's clear, and he's going to say that either way. But there you go. All right, let's talk about this offense. Missouri wins the game 49-27 against Mississippi State last Saturday. Moved to 7-3 on the year, 3-3 in the SEC. This is the best Missouri has looked, I would say, since UMass, when Missouri beat UMass 42-6. Since then, it's been tough sledding for Mizzou, but this is a good win and a win that can get you some momentum as you head into back-to-back rivalry games here at Oklahoma and at Arkansas. Two probably emotional rivalry games that are going to, still mean a lot to the fans and the players and the coaching staff. So getting a win here, a blowout win, relatively low stress, I think was great for Missouri. And I think the offense had a lot to do with that. What I saw, initially Matt Zollers looked a lot more comfortable, obviously his first pass of the game. By the way, I like that they started the game with a play action. I think that's good. I like mixing it up a little bit. I would have liked to have him find a shorter check down option just to get the first completion underway. But after that, they handed it to Hardy a bunch and it worked out. But Zollers overall, I would say a great start to this game through a touchdown on the first two drives. The first one, you recognize that the defense jumped off sides he dropped this thing right in the bucket for fellow true freshman Donovan Alubide, who's just becoming an incredible player. But this was a perfect ball in between two defenders, free play. He took advantage of it, touchdown. Really, really liked how he started the game. Then on the next drive, one of my big criticisms of, the offense last week is that you didn't really give him a lot in the middle of the field. You kind of made him just chuck passes to the sidelines, deep down the field and everything. Sorry, got distracted. On the second drive of the game, he found Josh Manning, probably 15 yards down the middle of the field. And then Josh Manning from there was able to make, multiple guys miss, find his way in the end zone. So 2 straight touchdown passes for Zollers to get things going. I thought Zollers looked more comfortable. Missouri really didn't ask him to do that much because Hardy was so incredible. Missouri ran the ball 39 times, threw it just 16 times. 15 times. Zollers only threw it 15 times. So there was an obvious game plan here, one that I wanted to see, and they came out and it worked. And I think, as maybe frustrated as we've been with the offensive output the last couple of weeks, I think, you could say, well, it wasn't perfect, and I'll talk about that, but Kirby Moore understood that you have to give the ball to your best player a bunch, and he did that with Ahmad Hardy, and it worked out well. I'll just kind of go through this game drive by drive. To start, like I said, play action to get things going, and then you run outside zone. That's your bread and butter. And one other thing, I think Missouri ran a bunch of 12 personnel, which means you have 1 running back and 2 tight ends in the game. That is a heavier set. That is a heavier personnel, obviously geared towards the run game. So, I like that. I think that's something you didn't really do as much as you probably should have against Texas A&M. But they ran 12 personnel. They said, we're just going to run it. I thought Brett Norfleet and Jordan Harris were really incredible in the run block game. I really think both those guys were excellent. And you can see that on the first big run of this game. It was the outside zone like we've seen. It's a 33-yard pickup for Hardy on his first carry of the game. You see 86 and 87. That's Harris and Norfleet lined up on the same side of the field. They run it to the strong side. Both those guys, get huge blocks and create the hole, and that's the hole that Hardy ran through. So both those guys, I thought, blocked really well. And then, you get set up after that run, a couple more good runs from Hardy. You get set up down there at the 26-yard line of Mississippi State, and you get the offside, and that leads to the touchdown there for Olubide. So perfect start to this game. You establish the run, and you get them over the top there. I like it. Second drive of the game started with a quick pass to Kevin Coleman Jr. I think that should have been the game plan all year long. Like, get the ball in this guy's hands. It's the same kind of deal with Luther Burden. Like, it doesn't matter how far down the field you are. Just get it in his hands, and he's going to give you a chance to make plays. He just is. So when you give him an opportunity, I like it. And they did that. I think one thing I took away from this game as I watched it is, like, there's been problems on offense for Missouri, but when the offense revolves around number 29, Ahmad Hardy, it is going to work. Like, if you can block for him, if you can if you can call the correct plays for him, it's going to work. You just have to you have to get everybody on the same page. Saturday, I think everybody's on the same page. The offensive line blocked well, and Hardy was incredible. He had a couple more big runs in the second drive, then, of course, set up the Zollers to Joshua Manning touchdown pass that I talked about earlier. The third drive of the game, I start to see some Jamal Roberts runs, which I like, mixing that in. I don't think it should be 50-50 like it kind of was in A&M. I think it should be more 70-30, but I do think Roberts could start in a lot of teams. He is a really good runner, and he had like 9 carries for 40-something yards. So he was great, gave them exactly what they needed. And then the third drive of the game, you have Matt Zoller's only interception of the game. Threw it to Josh Manning late. He was open, overthrew him a little bit, and just a pick. And, I'm not super mad about it. It wasn't a great throw, but, it's going to happen with your true freshman quarterback. Let's see. Yeah, the fourth drive of the game, you kind of go 3 and out, and then you get helped out with a false start on the field goal attempt, the offsides on the field goal attempt. So the drive extends. It was like 4th and 3, so it's now 1st and 10. And this is Hardy's first touchdown run of the game. It's an outside zone to the left. It looks like he's been tackled, and he just bounces off a couple guys, scores from, I think it was like 12 yards out maybe. Let me see. Yeah, it's 10 yards, so 10-yard gain. Good stuff there. And then to end the half, your drive is just you run it to Roberts twice, then it's 3rd and 6. You run it to him again. He breaks one for 20 yards. You're starting to get some short game going. You get all the way down there to the Mississippi State 26-yard line. Can't really get anything else. You get sacked, not sacked. It's intentional grounding. And then it's a 54-yard field goal for Robbins, who missed it. So you go into halftime, 21-10. Pretty good, right? I like it. Let's keep it going. Again, I think the outside zone is their bread and butter. The counter plays worked. They got the inside zone run play going too. Hardy fumbled on the first play of this, or on the first drive of this second half, and then Missouri punted. So it's kind of, it's 17-21 now because Mississippi State goes and scores. Missouri punts. They get the ball back, and this is Hardy's first big run of the game. It's kind of a counter. It's kind of an inside zone that he gets a handoff, and he runs it. Hold on one second. Yeah, it's an inside zone handoff. He cuts it. I mean, a huge cutback. Bounces it out to the other side and runs for 72-yard touchdown. And that play reminded me just how fast he is. He is so fast. And I mean, you think of him as this big bruising running back that is tough to tackle, and he is. But also, man, I mean, he can run. He's got some wheels, and he showed him off there on that 72-yard touchdown run. There was a stretch though here, after that where Mississippi State scores is 35-24, and your offense punts 2 times in a row, and you're kind of letting Mississippi State hang around. Then there's a pick six, the first one, and no, the first one was earlier, but no, I'm right. You get the pick six, and you have Missouri's offense doesn't score again until the 43-yard touchdown run by Hardy with like 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So there was an area where there were things weren't working. Zollers wasn't super accurate, and you had to punt a couple times in a row, but the defense held up pretty nicely. I will say the defense scored 2 of these touchdowns. If you take away 2 touchdowns, it's a 35-27 game. It's closer. It's still 35 points for the offense. I think that's what you ask for. The defense helps you out, and that takes some pressure off your quarterback, allows you to really milk the run game. And one of my favorite parts of this game was watching at the very end when they let Hardy go back in. When the game was in hand, they let him go. It was a 3rd down, and this is kind of last chance to go get 300 yards, and he breaks off a pretty long run. It was for, I don't know, how long was it? It was like a 19-yard run. Gave him 300 yards on the dot, and it's awesome. He gets called out. Here, one second. My dog's kind of sorry, she was kind of being a nuisance back there. But so they take him out of the game after that big run, and he's kind of like, he goes to Coach Looper, the running back coach. He's like talking to him. I can tell he's probably asking, did I get it? And Looper, nods his head. And then he looks up at the scoreboard. He's got this huge smile on his face. It's just awesome. It's confirmed he has 300 yards, and he's just having a great time on the sideline. It was an awesome moment to kind of get to watch him. Just watch him kind of learn that he actually got the 300 yards. So very cool. Let's see, what else could we do? So I'll just read the stats. I didn't ever tell you guys the stats. You probably know, but I'll just run through them. I just kind of ran through the drive chart there, but Missouri actually had 10 less first downs than Mississippi State, but they outgained them big time. Missouri had 438 yards in this game, threw for over 100. Zollers had 112 yards. Missouri was 5 of 10 on 3rd down. It's pretty good. 50%. We'll take that. Obviously, they run for 326 yards on 39 carries. Awesome performance there. Turn the ball over twice. There's a fumble by Hardy, the pick by Zollers. But Missouri does enough here. A very important stat for me. Just looking at the yard, their yards per rush are crazy. 8.4 yards per rush. I think Hardy had 12, finished with 12 yards per rush, which is just incredible. Ahmad Hardy, 25 carries, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Roberts, 9 carries, 45 yards. Demarion Fulks, who I like that they're kind of getting him involved a little bit. I think he's going to be a nice player. He showed some burst in the return game. He had 1 carry for 5 yards. You have Kevin Coleman Jr. leading the team in catches, 4 catches for 41 yards. Josh Manning, 1 catch for 34 yards. Although they're towards the end of the first half, when they're kind of trying to go score the 2-minute offense, Zollers throws it to Manning deep down the right sideline. Manning is kind of pushed out of bounds, so he catches the ball, but he stepped out of bounds first, so it didn't count. But a really nice connection between those two. I really, really like that kind of budding connection. I think that's good. And then Alubade, of course, 2 catches, 31 yards. Norfleet, 1 catch, 6 yards. Marquise Johnson, nothing. I like body language much better. Was really excited when Hardy got his 300 yards. He was super excited for Alubade's touchdown. I don't know how it hasn't clicked with him in this offense. I thought he would be such a big piece for them, especially after 2023, where he was a pretty decent contributor here and there. And then obviously had a big game against Iowa in the bowl game last year. But hopefully they can get him involved a little bit. Those are your stats. One thing I want to mention here before I let everybody go, Zollers. I talked about this last week after the A&M game, but how I don't think the offense really set him up for that much success. Last week, I'll just read it off to you. He was 7 of 22, 77 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Behind the line of scrimmage, he threw 5 passes. He was 4 of 5 for 3 yards. From 0 to 10 yards downfield, he was 1 of 3 for 12 yards. 10 to 20 yards downfield, he was 0 for 4. And 20-plus yards downfield, he was 2 for 8 with 62 yards. Between the numbers, so the middle of the field, he was 4 of 8 for 3 yards. That was last week against A&M. Now, his numbers this week, 8 of 15, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Behind the line of scrimmage, he threw 2 passes. He threw 2 passes for 19 yards. 0 to 10 yards downfield, he was 5 of 7 for 67 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 10 to 20 yards downfield, he was 0 for 2. 20-plus yards downfield, he was 1 for 2. 1 touchdown, 26 yards. So last week, 2 for 8 with the deep ball. This week, 1 for 2. I love that. I think last week it was very forced, him throwing up these deep balls that weren't ever going to connect. This week, he did it on the free play. He did it one more time that didn't connect, and it was the one I was talking about that actually Manning did catch. So it just didn't count. So, I mean, I like that he prioritized much more the 0 to 10-yard range, right? Last week, like I said, 1 for 3. This week, 5 for 7. Much better. Between the numbers, last week, 4 for 8, 3 yards. This week, 6 for 9, 69 yards and a touchdown. That's where he has to live. The short intermediate passes in the middle of the field, I think, is going to help him out a lot. That's where, his touchdown to Josh Manning came. He found him in the middle of the field. Manning made some guys miss. It was a touchdown. So just getting the ball to your playmakers in space is what it's all about, and letting them give themselves a chance to go score. I think that's really important. So improvement there. Still not amazing numbers for Zollers, but they really didn't need him to throw that much. So we'll see. We'll see how much longer he has this job. I mean, this was a nice win. Two nice touchdown passes, confidence builder. But Bo Prabula is on the mend, it sounds like. Drinkwitz also talked today about that. He said Bo Prabula is the starter. When he's healthy, he's going to play. I think he said something like, I would expect Zollers to play this week, but we'll see. So something to monitor there. Just run through the offense PFF grades. Keegan Trost was the highest graded offensive player, the right tackle, 86.7 grade. Hardy was 81.6. Jordan Harris, I told you this guy was awesome, played 38 snaps. 30 of them were in the run game. Really, really good, 77.6 grade. Curtis Piegler, the right guard, 75.7. Connor Tollison, the center, 70.9. Passing grade, Zollers, 66.4 pass grade. Decent, much improved from last week, obviously. Receiving, Manning had a 71.1 receiver grade. Kevin Coleman Jr., 66.7. Lubede, 66.4. And Northfleet, 61.2. Let's see. Rushing grades. I mean, this will be, Hardy, 82.1 run grade. Jamal Roberts, 64.8 run grade. I'll always like to look at the rushing direction, like where Hardy got the bulk of his yards. 192 of his 300 yards came when he was running in the direction of the right end, so outside the tight end, outside shoulder, which is the outside zone that we've talked about. He had 8 carries for 192 yards going to the right end, running to the right end. That's an average of 24 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns there. That's where the 72-yard run came. He also had some success the middle right run lane, which is between the center and the right guard. That was Missouri did a good job with the inside runs, the counter plays. He had 5 carries for 49 yards in that area. His other touchdown came on the right tackle, which is outside the right tackle, but inside where the tight end would be. So also kind of a right zone, but just a bit more or outside zone, just a bit more inside. He had 2 of those for 9 yards and a touchdown. That's no, I'm lying. That was not his touchdown. His touchdown came running between the left guard and the left tackle, the left guard gap. He had 3 carries there for 16 yards. That was probably the inside zone that I'm talking about. He had a touchdown there. So it's always interesting to see where he has his success running the ball. Blocking, Keegan Trost was let's go to pass blocking first. Trost was your highest grader pass blocker, 83.30 pressures allowed for Keegan Trost. Connor Tollison, 82.1, again, 0 pressures allowed. Caden Green, 78.4, 0 pressures allowed. Jamal Roberts, only pass blocked once, so I'm not going to count him really. Curtis Piegler had a 59.9 pass block grade. He allowed 1 pressure and 1 quarterback hit. Judy's also the same thing, one pressure, 1 quarterback hit. In the run block game, I'm interested to see how this is going to look. Keegan Trost, 82.5 run block grade. Jordan Harris, the tight end I was talking about, 80.7. Logan Muckey had 10 snaps in the run block game. The backup receiver, one of the team's captains, 77.8 grade. Curtis Piegler, 76.5. Dominic Judy, 69.7. So there you go. That's how it all breaks down on PFF, Pro Football Focus. Just interesting to know. Tomorrow I'll be back to talk about Missouri's defense, a defense that scored 2 touchdowns, forced 2 turnovers, right? I think, or 3 technically with the botched snap. With the field goal, which I'll talk about more tomorrow. Before I go, Missouri basketball played last night. They beat Prairie View A&M 91-73. Supposed to be a bit more of a blowout than that. Allowed 27 points in the first half, 46 in the second half, was outscored in the second half. But the game was in hand. Javon Porter, 12 points. Sean Phillips, 12 points, 13 rebounds, double-double for him. Anthony Robinson, 13 points, 5 assists, 2 steals. Sebastian Mack, only 2 points on 1 of 7 shooting. Mark Mitchell, 10 points, 5 rebounds. And then off the bench, you get 20 points from Jacob Cruz. I'm going to have to eat my words about Jacob Cruz. 7 of 10, 4 of 5 from 3, 8 rebounds. Led the team in scoring. Good game for him, man. Jaden Stone also was good off the bench. 12 points, 5 of 8, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. So there you go. Missouri shot 52% from the field, 43% from 3, 68% from the free throw line, 17 of 25. Would like to see that improve. Out-rebounded their opponent 49-28. It's pretty good. Turned the ball over 14 times, though. Not great. 44 points in the paint compared to Prairie View A&M's 22. Their largest lead of the game was 35. Ended up being an 18-point win for the Tigers. So the game was in hand, and Prairie View A&M kind of took advantage of maybe Missouri taking their foot off the pedal a little bit. But there you go. Let's see. Tonight, I think there's a couple of really good college basketball games. Michigan State. Yeah, Michigan State plays Kentucky tonight at Madison Square Garden. Also at Madison Square Garden is Kansas and Duke at 8 o'clock. 2 pretty good games I'll probably be watching. So there you go. That's all I have for today, though. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Keep an eye out for the social media pages I'm going to create for this podcast. I'll probably create it in the next day or so. So I'll let you know when that's up. Yeah, thanks for joining me, though. That's all I have for today. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk some defense.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.